Hello and welcome back to another Bad Movie Reviews review hosted by your favourite Eddington residents, Ben. And as a continuation of my coverage of Film Festival, Melbourne Film Festival, MIFF as we call it, I'm reviewing a film that should be getting a wide release relatively soon, but it luckily enough had some special screenings at the film festival, and that is none other than Eddington. Now, if you're not familiar with Eddington, it is the fourth feature film from Ari Aster, who obviously wrote and directed the film. Now, if you're not familiar with Aster's work, he obviously, well, not obviously, but he directed previously his Hereditary, Midsummer, then Beau is Afraid, and now Eddington. And the film itself is set during peak COVID time. I believe it was May, April of 2020, where it takes place in a small town called Eddington in New Mexico, where you've got a sheriff and a mayor who are basically having major disagreements about what's going on and pitted against each other. Now, the sheriff is played by none other than Joaquin Phoenix, who, as you can see, and Pedro Pascal's also in the film. You've also got Emma Stone. You have got Austin Butler even in the movie. You've got a great cast and a great supporting cast here. And obviously Ari Aster's work is somewhat... I think Hereditary and Midsummer are very, very beloved films. But they are... A lot of his films are generally quite divisive. And I think this film is no different. There are people who absolutely love the film. I am somewhat in the middle, and I'll get to why. I loved a lot of aspects of the film, but I think it's his most approachable film. Hereditary obviously being a full-blown horror. Midsummer is obviously horror elements. And Beau is Afraid is obviously just extremely left of field, odd movie, which I really enjoyed for the most part. But Eddington is one that is his most straightforward in the sense that it is a really relatively straightforward plot. It's not exactly, there's no horror elements. Or there might be horror elements, but it's not like Hereditary or Midsummer where there's gore, horror, full-blown horror, and even Beau is Afraid is obviously really, really an odd film at the sense of being. But this film just has me at a bit of a crossroads. I think Ari Aster is at his best when he's doing his horror works. Like, I love Hereditary and Midsummer a lot. And this film, there are a lot of elements to love. When it is really, really working, it is genuinely brilliant. But then when it isn't, it's not as if it's like it's not drawing you in or anything. But when it isn't working, it's not good at all, in my opinion. It's obviously got a lot to say about politics, and Ari Aster's obviously had he's very outspoken in that, especially if you listen to like these podcast talks he did regarding this film. But he's got a lot to say about politics, and this film even has a lot to say about politics, even the current climate in America and things like that. And I think it is an interesting watch, obviously, from someone in Australia. I'm not fully blown not invested, but in the middle of that situation, obviously. So it's somewhat of a third person, exterior view on outlook on America and the political side of things in there. But I think the film does have great performances. I think Pedro is great. I think Joaquin Phoenix is also great as Joe. Austin Butler and Emma Stone, for what they're in, are really good. The third act really did lose me. It is a very, very long third act. It is a huge penultimate section of the film, and it is like a 2.5 hour long movie, and I think it could have really utilized being a lot shorter. There are some shots, and the cinematography here is beautiful, and there's a really great needle drop moment in there as well, which I'm sure if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But a lot of this I liked, and then a lot of it I really disliked. But hence why I'm sitting really on the middle of the road, and it's hard to talk about what I didn't like because I don't want to obviously talk about spoilers. It's yet to, I think, get a full release in Australia. I'm not sure about America. I believe it releases in a couple of weeks in Australia. But I do recommend going to see it. It is an interesting film. I think people will genuinely either love it or hate it. It's one of those films. I think Beau is Afraid is, to be honest, similar. Beau is Afraid is a lot more odd in the sense that it's not relatively accessible for people who aren't necessarily into Aster films. This is a film where if if you didn't know he wrote and directed it, you probably couldn't tell. He's not exactly a distinctive style on this, but there is There is a lot to love here. I just wish it really connected with me more. I do think it is like I do think it is the COVID movie. There's not been much but it genuinely like gave me PTSD, um, of that time in my life. But I do recommend watching it because I do think there is a lot to love. But in the 2.5 hour film, you really kind of need to have majority really hitting. But it's just upsetting because when it is working, it's like genuinely really brilliant. Like it is, it's not just good, it is really, really top notch. But unfortunately, a lot of it didn't work. So that's overall my opinion. I'm sure people, if you've seen it, comment below, let me know what you think. I'd love to talk about the film. I do think it's a film that'll have a lot of people talking. So comment below, let me know what you think. If you do like the review, give it a like, subscribe for more, and watch more of our MIFF content going forward for the next 2 weeks. We'll see you then.